Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the event. We hope you have taken your breakfast because you are going to need some energy to absorb what the participants are going to convey in their sessions, as I'm sure that it will be interesting to say the least. Now, the motion has been released approximately an hour ago, and I'm sure everyone is excited to know what topic the debaters are going to talk about for this first session. Allow me to introduce the motion. For this motion, this House will require doctors to report suspected cases of domestic violence. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed the debate session. We will now proceed on with the debate session. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can I know if side government, all three speakers are present?
Yes.
Okay, and for side opposition, are all your three speakers present?
Yes. Yes.
And the adjudicator for this room, are you present?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm pleased to welcome you to the first preliminary round of the 7th MyPSA National Pharmacy Debate Competition 2021. This debate will now come to order. Representing the government side for today is AIMS Team 1 with Prime Minister Aruna Bhaskaran, the Deputy Prime Minister Choi Jun-hao, and Government Whip Tan Tai Chang. Representing side opposition for today is Taylor's Team 2 with Leader of Opposition Fong Yizhi, Deputy Leader of Opposition Divya, and Opposition Whip Tracy Anak Perempuan Selvaraj. It will be my responsibility as moderator to remind a couple of things that each debater must keep in mind for today's round. Number one, sensitive issues that would be offensive to political, religious, or ethnicities are prohibited. Number two, each debater has an allocated speech time of 5 minutes. The bell will be rung for the first time at the first minute, and for the second time at the fourth minute to indicate no longer POIs from the opposing side. Once 5 minutes have been reached, the bell will be rung twice to indicate that the allocated speech time has come to an end. And number three, the allocated time for reply speeches are 3 minutes with no POIs from opposing sides. With that, I would like to warmly invite the Prime Minister to open up the case for today's motion. This House would require doctors to report suspected cases of domestic violence. Hear, hear.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair Speaker, Honorable Judges, accurate timekeeper, loyal teammates, and worthy opponents. My name is Aruna, and I'm your Prime Minister for this debate. This debate today is that this House would require doctors to report suspected cases of domestic violence. We as the government believe that this motion must stand. Before I start telling you why, allow me to define today's motion and then set up a scope for this debate. Firstly, the definition of a doctor according to the Cambridge Dictionary is a healthcare professional with a medical degree and a practicing license whose job is to treat people who are ill and or injured Definition of report is to give a spoken or written account of something that one has observed, heard, or done. And domestic violence, by the Oxford Dictionary, domestic violence means violent or aggressive behavior within the home, typically involving the violent abuse of a spouse or a partner. Right now, as the government, we will be setting up the scope for this motion. Doctors in this motion will include medical healthcare practitioners in all fields of practice. Domestic violence will include physical aggression or assault or threats, sexual abuse, controlling or domineering, intimidation, stalking, and passive or covert abuse. This motion will be scoped globally. We today, as the government team, we will tell you why this motion should stand till end of the debate with our 3 points. As the Prime Minister, I will be talking on doctors as the patient's main advocate, while my Deputy Prime Minister will be talking to you from the law perspective, which can increase detection and documentation of cases, and from society and nation perspective, it can ensure safety and reduce cases of domestic violence in the future. Our third minister will rebut the opposition team and sum up our team's case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will start my argument. According to the Domestic Violence Act 1994, it is mandatory for the doctors to report child abuse and neglect in households of domestic violences. For the adults, the law is clear that when a doctor suspects domestic violence, they are to us, the patient, if the partner or caregiver, family member is harming them. They are to direct nurses to provide all community resources available for assisting their patient and refer them to counseling, which they can refuse. But doctors will have to report any sighting. In these reports, nurses are required to do skin assessments and document bruises and anything else they can see or a drawing of a person. This becomes a part of the patient's chart. Doctors in Malaysia went through 5 years of medical school, 5 years of thorough training to be a licensed medical practitioner. They are exposed to so many cases, and a part of their job is to advocate for patients who are suspected to be victims. If not them, who else? So yes, the doctors are required to report these cases. However, once they are reported, actions will be taken by the authorities. Just a minute. In 2020 to 2021 alone, domestic violence cases went up by 18% in just the first 2 weeks of the lockdown. And in Malaysia, the ministry's Talian Kasih hotline has seen a 57% increase, or 1,893 calls from women in distress up to March 26. Let me emphasize this. These cases are the cases that are being reported. How about the ones that are not being reported? So, one of the cases was about a pregnant mother that was being abused at home. She only left her home for routine checkup. And because of the current COVID laws, where only the patient is allowed in the examination room, she was able to talk to her doctor when the doctor questioned her the marks of on her body. So, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to whether or not doctors should be required to report suspected cases of domestic violence abuse, we, the government, and I'm very sure that the audience will agree that doctors should. With that, I would like to conclude that me and my team strongly believes that the motion for today must stand, and we will continue to tell you why till the end of the debate. Thank you.
PI?
Yes?
Okay, so what if the patient does not consent to reporting to any kind of law enforcement agencies?
I was not aware that consent was more important than saving patient's life. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your speech. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Leader of Opposition to respond to the case.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Members of this House, although there seems to be all good and no harm to reporting these cases, there are several possible negative consequences that are seldom spoken of. This is why my House rejects this motion that doctors should be required to report cases of domestic violence. Among the vast possibilities, there is a risk that injured patients avoid seeking medical care out of fear of police involvement and that police intervention could anger the perpetrator to increase aggression. Studies have shown that as many as 50% of abusers make such threats and more than 30% assault of their partners during prosecution, illustrating the clear and present danger faced by intimate partner abuse victims who abuse is reported to the police. As Prime Minister, has it occurred to you that limited or unsafe police response to reports of intimate partner abuse may further endanger victims, undermining victims' trust in the criminal justice system and hinder the system's efforts towards punishment and deterrence? On top of that, there are so many cases in which victims have come forward, but the law enforcement officers just look past it or don't believe the victims, and no actions were taken in the victims' favor. This only makes the victims more distant and secretive about their abuse. There are people who is going to avoid the police for personal reasons, like undocumented abused women fearing deportation, and women who fear losing custody of their children are particularly vulnerable. This further isolates partner abuse victims and limits the ability of physicians to intervene on their behalf and provide the best possible care. Also, I would like to emphasize that not all victims will get their way with the police. As mentioned earlier, domestic violence occurs when abusers believe that abuse is an entitlement, acceptable, justified, or unlikely to be reported. This being said, those abusers are usually privileged and highly influential. They will have access to high-ranking officials, political figures to pull strings on the case in their favor. I think it's time to wake up. The police state system is so corrupted and money-minded nowadays, where if you have money and connections, somehow, I will answer your questions later. Thank you. The system will favor those we have to take into consideration of the possibilities and the consequences of reporting cases. Abusers are also often, actually in majority cases, very manipulative. They make it seem like it's the victim's fault, and victims do not often believe that. Hold on, I will answer your questions later. And blame themselves. So, with a logical mindset, do you think it's better if doctors themselves, whom patients trusted and confided in, go against them and reported these cases if they are not ready? You were saying?
So are you saying that these cases should not be reported at all and the victims to suffer further?
I'm saying with the victim's consent, they could report it to the police. But without it, like the undocumented abused woman, would they rather they could face deportation. So it could make a broken family. Is that what you want? Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Now, I would like to warmly welcome the Deputy Prime Minister to present their case.
Sorry, is my sound audible?
Yes.
Right. All right, so before I want to start my speech, I'd like to ask the operative one question. Shine or die? The doctors having the responsibility to uphold the consent, but in the matter of the life, we believe that life matters more compared to the consent. So before I start my speech, I will bid a good morning to the every single floor, educators, my beloved teammates, and the respected operating team. Today, we're here to debate over the motion this House will require the doctor's report suspected cases of domestic violence. As a government team, we strongly support these motions. I, as the second speaker, is going to rebut all the points from the opposition leader and continue with our case to show how we stand throughout the debate. Just now, the opposition leader is saying that seeking the police intervention is going to increase the aggressiveness of the abuser. Ladies and gentlemen, for information, in any country of practice, when the cases of domestic violence is being reported, the victims will be protected by the police and the social welfare department, and during the intervention period, the abuser are not allowed to meet up or encounter with the victims. So the victim's safety is being guaranteed and it's not a matter to be worried after reporting the domestic violence by the doctor. Secondly, the opponent also keeps saying that it's a corruption in the law enforcement and law enforcement doesn't care about the victims as well. Ladies and gentlemen, today's motion will here debate over the doctor's roles, not the law enforcement and the corruption problem. We are not going to talk about the law enforcement, not going to talk about the corruption. I think the opposition leader has misread the motions. Regarding the corruption problem, there is one influential, exemplified by one example, but actually in real life, there is one influential actress, Chinese, who called Terrence Ng. He was being accused by domestic violence, and finally he was jailed by the law. So this saying that regardless you are influential or not, law is law. Law is there to protect, and the doctors having the role to report the cases. So moving to our first argument, we strongly believe that requiring the doctors report the cases of domestic violence, we can increase the detections and the documentation of abuse from the perspective of law. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays we are living in a democratic society, and every crime we need an evidence. Doctors are the healthcare professional, they are well trained and can differentiate the violence injury than the others. By requiring the doctors to report the domestic violence cases, we can make the domestic violence case to be more easily detected. And in this case, the doctors can be the proof of evidence when they report the cases. According to the Western Journal Medicine's volume 173 published in year 2017, 87% of domestic violence victims will seek for the medical care. Hence, by requiring the doctors report the cases of domestic violence, we can safeguard the victims. The victims may be too afraid to lodge a report, and this time, the doctors will be the savior. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the American Medical Association Journal of Ethics, United States law has required the physicians to report domestic violence to the law enforcement authority, and this has been practiced in more than 50 states in the US.
PY, please.
California Mayor Mr. Gavin Newsom also stated it's mandatory for the doctors to report the cases of domestic violence according to Penal Code of California. Moving to our second argument, we strongly believe that requiring the doctors report the cases can increase the safety and decrease the cases of domestic violence in future. Doctors are the victim's last hope. Doctors uphold the responsibility to safeguard the patient's safety because the doctors are the first contact with the victims when they seek for the medical care. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one heart-wrenching story happened in Poland. In 2014, there is one Polish woman who called Abby Black, who was being nearly killed by her abusive husband. She was so scared to press charges against him. One day, she was heavily injured by her husband after using a heartbeat and being sick in the clinic. Report to the police. Do you know what happened in the end? Her husband was being jailed, and the Miss Abby Black was free from evil crime of her husband. Now, we're going to talking about the cases of domestic violence in future. When we require the doctors to report the cases of domestic violence, actually we are going to acting as a deterrent because the abuser know there is someone behind the victims. There is someone help the victims to report the cases of domestic violence when they do the domestic violence to the victims. Let me quote an example. In the United Kingdom, after the legislations of the law that required the doctors to report the cases of suspected violence to their authority in 1996, there is a significant decrease in the cases of domestic violence by 32% from 1997 to 2000. So to wrap up, our side has provided a substantial argument on the national and also the subjective perspective, as well as the law perspective of how the doctor uphold a role in reporting the suspected domestic violence cases. However, from opponent's side, they just keeping saying overstatement and generalization without understanding the motion clearly. And with that, we strongly feel the motion today should and must stand. With that, I raise my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. To continue this debate, next I'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition to respond. Hear, hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Firstly, I'm going to be proving to you that even if we can see through the government's framework of doctors reporting cases of domestic violence, we, the opposition, are still better. But first, let me rebut the government. They say that doctors are the main advocate, right? So how is the government going to contradict themselves and say doctors must report the cases? They say that doctors have to report the cases of domestic abuse even if we have to breach the confidentiality of the patient. First of all, it's not about being shy. There is a major difference when you are not ready and when you are shy. And we have to talk about the consequences of doctors reporting the cases, right? Which leads to the case of the law enforcement. How do you expect to stop right at the role of the doctor and not think of the consequences? It's not a movie where you can just direct what stops at which part. If a doctor goes against the will of a patient, no one is going to come up and seek medical care from the doctor in the first place. So if we choose the government side, patients and victims are just not going to open up about their abuse and on top of that, not seek medical care, which is the main priority of the doctor. Because of the breach of confidentiality and because of that, many victims do not open up to anyone and that just makes everything worse. And that brings
POI? POI?
Yes.
Do you know that the doctors actually can report the cases by maintaining the confidentiality of the victims, so the abuser will not know who is going to suffer them?
Yeah, but there is still a difference with consent. Even if you're being anonymous or anything, you're still going behind the patient's back and reporting the cases without their knowledge. So there is a difference with consent. And that brings to my second point. Doctor confident have the right. There will be no disclosure of any personal information which is obtained during the course of a practitioner's professional duties, unless they give the consent. Let me emphasize on it, unless they give consent. The justification for this information being kept confidential is that it enhances the patient and doctor relationship. Without assurances about confidentiality, patients may be reluctant to even give doctors the information in the first place. So how, if you don't have this trust between the doctor and the patient, how do you think the cases are even going to be opened up by the victims and also be reported after that? Domestic violence patient also may hesitate to get treatment if they know that their confidentiality is going to be breached. Reporting the issue to the police does not mean that the issue is solved. It is not as easy as everyone thinks it is. There is a difference with domestic abuse cases. It's not that that reporting is going to solve the problem. There is a difference in the sense that they are going to go back to the abuser, and it's not as simple as that. All because of the reporting. Instead, talk to the patient and understand their point of view and their needs. See what they need to do next. Doctors are there to give medical care and not go against the will of patient and report the cases. Because if they're not ready to leave their abuser, reporting will only make matters worse, as it's not a guaranteed solution. You must not underestimate the potential danger for the victim. It's the victim's needs over ours. Unlike mandatory reporting of child abuse, reporting of intimate partner abuse nearly always involves competent adults capable of making their own critical life decisions. It deprives victims of their right to decide whether and how to involve law enforcement agencies. It breaches patient-physician confidentiality and creates a barrier to open and honest exchange required for proper diagnosis, first of all, treatment, and the follow-up. And this is why it's always important to not be selfish and always assume the needs of the patient, but instead, what the doctors can do is that if the patient does decide to talk, just listen to their story first without being judgmental, offering advice or suggesting solutions. Chances are, if they are actively listening, the person will tell you exactly what they need. Just give the person the full opportunity to talk. You can ask clarifying questions, but mainly just let the person vent their feelings and fears. You may be the first person in which the victim has confided in. And if you're going to immediately suggest reporting to the police or law enforcement agencies, they will be traumatized from this and probably not even seek anything from anyone in the future and just be secretive about it. And with that, we still stand to oppose the motion. Yes, you were saying?
I would like to ask you, did you know that in cases of abuse, murder, and criminal, patient-doctor confidentiality does not apply? I just wanted to know whether you knew that or not.
In that cases, as I said, you are still advising the patient. The difference is we are not pressuring the patient or the victim to go and report their cases. We are going to advise them. Probably one of the advice is probably go to the police, but in a proper mindset. Most of the victim's mindset and mentality at this state is not stable. So you have to be there as a listener, not just actively assume what they need and what they don't need. So you can suggest going to the police and all, but in their favor and without pressurizing them, and see what works best for them. That's my thank you, and that's all.
Thank you for your speech. Next, let us invite the government whip to continue this debate.
Hello, testing. Can you guys
Yes,
hear me?
you're audible.
All right. Okay, I will start now. So the side opposition is making up their case on a weird concept in which abuse is okay before we report it, but become not okay after we report it. They also made naive assumptions in which all patients has the courage or confidence to report their case well. But in the first hand, we think that if they have such courage, they will not be abused by the abuser. So before that, a very good morning. I greet to the honorable educator, Mr. Chairperson of the opponents and my loyal teammates. So as the government whip, my speech will be based on 4 points, which are the first, which sides protect the victims more. And secondly, about the privacy issue. And thirdly, which sides will solve this problem in our society more efficiently. And lastly, which sides will help to maintain a better relationship between the doctor and also patients. First of all, which sides will give the better protections to the victims? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the side opposition is giving a weird concept in which the abuser is often high profile and also very, very prolific. So they cannot be punished by law. So we should not report that. While ladies and gentlemen, we say that once we report them, there will be investigations into this case, and in which emergency protection order will be immediately given to the patients that is assumed to be abused, in which they can be protected. One of the law order in the emergency protections order says that the abuser should not get close in 15 meters close to the abusee. So this makes sure that abusee will not get abused by the abuser. Secondly, about the privacy issues. So the side opposition is also making a contradiction in which they say that no consent given, so we should not report the case. While on the other hand, they also say that the patients will not give the consent because they fear of getting more revenge from the abuser, and also because the abuser is more highly prolific. While ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that when it comes to the saving the life of the victims being abused, the privacy issue can be set aside. According to the confidentiality guideline, abuse is a situation in which the doctor does not need the patient's consent in order to record the medical records. And also, my Deputy Prime Minister also mentions that the doctor is also actually able to make a report without releasing the medical records of the patients. So we think that in privacy issue we win this point. And thirdly, which sides help to solve these society problems more efficiently, while the side oppositions have a passive manner in which they will wait for the needs the doctor to listen and not to take active measure in order to help the patients. While our side, we suggest that we should take an active measure in order to help the patients to solve these problems. Our Prime Minister also said that once the doctor have to report the case of the abuse, then this have to increase the detection of the documentation and also the case. Our Deputy Prime Minister also show you the statistics in which in the UK, once they pass the act in which they require the doctor to report the case, it actually has a 32% reduction in the case of abuse in the UK alone. While in that side, they fail to provide probable evidence which suggests that by reporting this case, the case, by allowing the doctor to report this case, this will actually make the problems worse. So this is the point that they need to prove. And last but not least, which sides have to maintain the relationship between the doctor and the patients. So we can see that the side opposition is actually making a weird assumptions in which once the doctor build the confidentiality of the patients, no more patient will no more believe in the doctor. Even when you get sick, you will not go to the doctor for treatments because you scared that, I have a flu and I have a flu and there will be a rumor in which says that I have a COVID-19. But ladies and gentlemen, our side states that it's not in the case. When the doctor responsibility is first to help the patients in need. So it is also in accordance to the Hippocratic oath, in which the responsibility of the patient to the patient should be considered paramount and patient privilege should come first. So doctor should, once they report the case, then they will establish an image in which doctor is someone that the patients, the victims of the abuse can come to seek for help when they get abused. So this will actually help the doctors to establish a more positive image and allows more abusee to go to seek for help from the doctor. So ladies and gentlemen, by supporting our side, you are actually addressing these issues and you are not standing at a bystander, listen to the patient's testimony, and you are actually solving the case actively. So with all those said, we are proud to propose. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech. Now, we would like to invite the opposition whip to present their speech.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Wait, my camera shut down, sorry. Sorry, just give me a minute. Sorry for letting everyone wait. Okay. Good evening to everyone, and good morning to everyone, to the members of the House, the host, the moderator, and the judge. And first, I'd like to start with analogies does not coexist with statistics. Just because you believe that more patients will come through to the doctor. Because the victims will be, more engaged with the doctor who makes reports for the victims, does not mean it's true. The Prime Minister has stated doctors are experienced to conduct the examination. They have been through 5 years of studies. The Prime Minister has also given me why the doctor is eligible to report it. The Prime Minister has stated the statistics of domestic violence, but has not given a reason why a doctor should report the case of domestic violence. Yes, there are high statistics of domestic violence, but why should the doctor report the case? The Prime Minister has not given me the solid reasoning towards the motion. And the Deputy Prime Minister has said life matters more than consent. Without consent, life could be harmed through this. Consent is important to retain full commitment of victim to make the report go forward. Without consent, a report is a waste of paper. The Deputy Prime Minister has said police is not involved in this motion because my OL has, our opposition leader has said that the impact of police in this case could stop victims from going in because they have had a bad experience with the cop, as they saw. But that's where the police come into this case. Who are we lodging the report to? Who is the doctor lodging the report to? Who is handling the case? The police, right? The police determines if the victims want to report cases or not. The doctors wouldn't be at the end of the case helping to and investigate on the case. The police will be investigating the case. The doctors will just report and go off. That's all the doctors will do. The doctors are not as saviors as the government states them to be. They will be just reporting on the case without even the consent of the patient, which just leads more harm to the patient. And the government has emphasized on the importance of reporting for the sake of case filing of the justice. They never took into account the negative effect of mandatory reporting. They also have made a generalized claim that every victim could be held to the case of the report. They fail to realize the treatment that every victim receives is not the same. There's many cases of neglect when a report like this is made. Neglect that this is a family issue and it should be settled at home. These remarks give the abuser confidence towards their act of violence. Mandatory reporting also isn't practical because without the consent of patient, the patient could deny those claims and nothing could be done. As my leader of opposition has stated, these abusers are extremely manipulative. They could easily deflect the injury onto the victim. The case could be turned against the victim. And I sincerely believe in this motion, against this motion, that doctor should not be the person who is reporting this case. And we also have to understand that. We also have to understand that it is because of mandatory reporting laws can affect help seeking by. Laws can affect help seeking by requiring some sources of support to report survivors to formal system. Like there has been studies done by the National Domestic Violence Hotline, where has shown how mandatory reporting impacts survivors' help seeking. The outcomes they are help seeking. In some cases, just because of their race, their gender, the sexual orientation could influence their experience with the law. And without their consent, you do not know the abuser who's at hand, and you could just make a report. And even their case couldn't even get through because their sexual orientation doesn't allow them to be filed as a case. And for many cases, like where people who are in the cases of minority will not be treated as the same as someone who is a majority and is privileged in society. And there are many research that has been stated the intersection of mandatory report of intimate partners. Like survivors, for example, may not seek the medical care they need or withhold medical relevant information to avoid triggering a report against themselves or their abusers. In addition, some survivors delay or avoid seeking help from intimate partner violence from formal services, even intimate partner violence services, because they fear they're disclosing their experience of IPV will lead to court involvement and child removal. In some cases, people who are in a marginalized group get their child removed because of those abuses at their home. So there are many cases could be made why the doctor should not be reporting without the consent of the patient. There I am a case, and I believe that we should go against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you to the opposition whip. And that concludes the substantive part of this debate. Now both teams will have 1 minute to prepare for the reply speeches. Now, I'd like to invite the reply speaker from side opposition to present their speech.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
This was a very messy debate, and hopefully I can make it easier for all of you. Firstly, I'm going to point out the best point from the government side and the best point from our side. And let me tell you why our best point is still better than the government's best point. Previously, we showed you that not every victim is ready to report their cases of domestic violence. Our main priority is the consent from the victim and the needs of the patient. We have to prioritize the needs of the victim. We can't go against their words and we can't breach the confidentiality of the patient. Whereas the best point from the government is that reporting the cases would solve it all for the victim, right? But our point still beats the government because we care about the patient's views and not pressuring them to do anything they don't want to do. The doctors are here to give medical care and conditional support. Consequently, victims often feel that no one believes them if they told people about their violence. Believe the victim's story and say so. For a victim, finally having someone who knows the truth about their struggles can bring a sense of hope and relief. Let me just clarify. We are not saying that reporting is wrong. All we are saying is that pressuring patients will just backfire on us. With patient-doctor confidentiality, we are encouraging victims to open up about their abuse and advise them after that. If you are going to side with the government and expect doctors to breach the confidentiality and trust of patients, how do you expect patients to even open up about their cases in the first place? And let me ask you this. With no cases of domestic violence even being opened up by the victims in the first place, how are you even going to report it? Report something with no case in the first place, perhaps? So maybe that is something the government should think about. So members of the House, I hope you see how this can be detrimental in every way if you choose the government side. In our situation, our side prioritizes the needs of the patient and their mental health. And that is why we have won this debate and we are proud to oppose. Thank you.
Now, I'd like to invite the reply speaker from side government to conclude this debate.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Is it 2 or 3 minutes? Yeah, it's 3, right?
Yes, 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair Speaker. Before I begin with my reply speech, I would like to emphasize that we are debating whether or not doctors is required to report cases of domestic violence, not the corruptness of the law enforcement or patient readiness to report this abuse themselves. Clearly, they were not listening close enough. Now it is time to wrap up our debate. The main question in this debate today is whether or not doctors is required to report cases of domestic violence. The arguments of the opposition were filled with assumptions and generalizations that has no reliable proof from any factual data. Firstly, they said that unsafe reports will cause more problems and the law enforcement is a corrupted system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to decide whether or not doctors should report the domestic violence, not about the corrupted law enforcement, how corrupted the law enforcement is. Reporting cases is the first step to helping the patient. With or without consent, like my Deputy Prime Minister said, the safety of the victims is more important, especially when it is the law to report them. They also said reporting domestic violence will go against patients' doctor confidentiality. I was not aware that protecting patients' confidentiality is more crucial than protecting the lives of and safety of the patient itself. Like I have mentioned, it is the law to report the cases of domestic violence, and this does not adhere to patient-doctor confidentiality nor patient consent. There is no protecting of confidentiality when the victim is 6 feet down the ground. The opposition side also has failed to provide any solution that actually helps. There was no mention of any alternatives where the domestic violent patient get any sort of help. Now let me summarize and defend our case. In contrast to the opposition, we, the government team, have quoted many data, facts, and statistics to prove why this motion should stand. I, as the Prime Minister, told you about how important patients are advocated by their doctors. Victims of domestic abuse are usually very fearful and silently cries for help. If not the doctors that is going to help them in the hospital setting, who else would? And then my Deputy Prime Minister also told you that it is very crucial for doctors to report the domestic violence due to multiple factors. From the perspective of law, it can increase the detection and documentation of cases. This is a really important indicator to reduce or prevent the domestic violence, and this we backed up with statistics. Not just that, from the perspective of society and nation, when doctors report the domestic violence cases, it can ensure the patients or abuse victims' safety and save them from hazardous situation. We also provided several solutions that are relevant to this motion. Dear members of the opposition and members of the floor, do understand that we, the government, were chosen by the people to protect their rights and enforce the laws that were set and make sure they live comfortably and safely as possible. Allowing this motion to fall, it will not only bring down the trust of the people in the justice system, but you will be stepping on the voices of domestic violence victims who actually needs the help. With that, we rest our case. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have reached the end of this debate session. We hope you had an excellent time watching the great speakers and we'd like to sincerely thank you for tuning in. Participants are required to enter another room for the feedback and also the results for this round. The results will be announced soon, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Welcome back from the first debate session, everyone. As you can see, the first session was phenomenal, and I'm sure the second session will pique your interest as well. Now, let us talk a little about the previous session before we proceed on to the next motion. Now, domestic violence is rampant, but you don't see it happening around us for the obvious reasons. And I think this would not be a problem if patients or victims actually start reporting it or talking to their doctors about it. Because most of these cases do not go unreported because the victims have this fear that something might happen to them if they report it. Am I right, Fiona?
I completely agree with you, Kelvin. Maybe they are afraid of how society views them, but on the contrary, we have to understand that victims who are abused and damaged mentally, and so they might not be able to make the right decision at that point of time.
Yes, you are certainly right, Fiona. And on that note, I think it's time we end this commentary and head straight into the next motion. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the next motion. So, for the next motion, this House believes that developing countries should embrace medical tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoy the debate session. We'll now proceed on with the debate session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can I know if all three debaters from side government are here?
Yes.
All right. Are all three debaters from side opposition here?
Yes.
Yes.
Adjudicator for this room, are you present?
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm pleased to welcome you to the first preliminary round of the 7th MyPSA National Pharmacy Debate Competition 2021. This debate will now come to order. Representing the government side for today's debate is Team UniKL 1 with Prime Minister Nurul Farhana, Deputy Prime Minister Putri Halimah, and also Government Whip Vinotini. Representing side opposition for today is Swing Team with Leader of Opposition Nurul Fatimah Umairah, Deputy Leader of Opposition Heng Yik Lim, as well as Opposition Whip Timothy Martin. It will be my responsibility as moderator today to remind a couple of things that each debater must keep in mind. Number one, sensitive issues that would be offensive to political, religious, or ethnicities are prohibited. Each debater has an allocated speech time of 5 minutes. The bell will be rung for the first time at the first minute and for the second time at the fourth minute to indicate no longer POIs from each opposing side. Once 5 minutes have passed, the bell will be rung twice to indicate that the allocated speech time has come to an end. The allocated time for reply speeches are 3 minutes, with no POIs from either opposing side. With that, I would like to warmly invite the Prime Minister to open up the case for today's motion. This House would require doctors to report suspected cases of domestic violence. Hear, hear.
I don't think that's the correct motion. Are you sure that's a motion?
This was the motion I was given. What is the? Can I know the motion?
Can you repeat your motion again? Sorry.
The motion given to me for this round is this House would require doctor to report suspected cases of domestic violence.
Looks like even the speakers didn't receive that motion.
Yeah, we received the one with medical.
Medical tourism.
Yeah.
Medical tourism. All right. Okay. Apologies on my part. I was given the incorrect motion for this round.
No worries.
So with that, I would like to invite the Prime Minister to begin this debate.
Thank you. Before that, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, wait a minute. A very good day, I bid to the Honourable Adjudicator, precise timekeeper, the respected opponents from the opposition team, my loyal comrades, and not to forget the members of the floor. For today's debate, we, as the government team, strongly support to this motion. This House believes developing countries should embrace medical tourism simply because it benefits the developing countries in terms of economy, society, and medical. Ladies and gentlemen, the reasons why we need to debate on today's motion are first, because of the competitive medical fees and medical facilities are two vital factors that make a developing country a popular destination among health tourists. And second, because of the proven increasing statistic of tourists in developing countries seeking for medical consultation. For example, in Malaysia, according to the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, MHTC, Malaysia reportedly received 641,000 foreign patients in 2011, and the amount continually increasing in 2016, where is 921,000 foreign patients. At the end of today's debate, we believe that we'll be able to promote highest level of health for all people, and hence we need the opposition to prove to us why opposition do not want to embrace the medical tourism despite of the benefits and readiness.
Now let's move on to my first task, which is defining the controversial word in this motion. Ladies and gentlemen, developing countries, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, refer to a country with little industrial and economic activity and where people generally have low incomes. And under this term, we have come up with few criteria under developing countries based on the Intelligence Economist published on 2017. First, because of the low per capita real income. Second, high population growth rate. Third, high rates of unemployment. Fourth, dependence on primary sector. And fifth, dependence on exports of primary commodities. And based on world population data, 2021, one of the developing countries that we are focusing into this motion is Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, embrace refer to accept something and enthusiasm. And the medical tourism, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, refer to the travel to a foreign country for medical treatment, especially because it is less expensive than in your own country. And under this, we have a health tourism, which can be divided into medical tourism and wellness, but again, we'll be focusing on medical tourism. And who will be involved, which is organization such as Malaysian Healthcare Travel Council, MHTC, and the Ministry of Health. And the criteria, according to the GCI, Joint Commission International, there are 7 accredited hospitals in Malaysia that we are focusing in this motion, which is certified for medical tourism. And our focus will be on the private hospital. And let us take a look at one of reputable certified hospitals, such as National Heart Institute, Gleneagles Intern Medical Center, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, the criteria under the medical tourism, which is affordable, language, and medical insurance. And what kind of medical condition that we are suggesting, such as cardiovascular disease, thoracic disease, pediatric, and so on. And how we'll be implementing this, because of the process of medical traveling does not need visa, so it's easier for the patient to seek the treatment. To summarize, today's motion is about this house belief that developing countries like Malaysia should accept medical tourism in which patients travel to other countries to seek the treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Prime Minister, I will provide the keyword under facility. My second speaker will go into rebut and provide her own solid argument under manpower and financial resources. And lastly, our third speaker will rebut all the problematic idea and strengthen our team's case. Ladies and gentlemen, under the keyword facility, for my argument, according to the CEO of National Heart Institute, Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Azhari Yaakob said that medical facilities in Malaysia are equipped with world standard technology, which means that we are ready to cater the rest of foreign patients. For example, in National Heart Institute, there is a specific department which is International Patient Center. Because of why, ladies and gentlemen? Because of we are ready in terms of the facility. That's why, for example, National Heart Institute, they have prepared a special department for the foreign tourists who want to seek a treatment in National Heart Institute. So that's why the increasing number that we can see from the foreign tourists come to Malaysia to seek treatment. That's why we are supporting this medical tourism, which we can see the increasing number of international patients come to the National Heart Institute, for example. That is why in our world, we would like to propose this. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your speech. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Leader of Opposition to respond to their case. Hear.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Now, before I begin, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Can we start now?
Yes? Real quickly, could the timekeeper just announce after each speech how much time was used by the speaker? Thank you very much. Yes, Opposition Leader, you may continue. Sorry.
It's okay. All right. A very good morning, everyone. Now, as we are all aware, the growth in the popularity of medical tourism has captured the attention of policymakers, researchers, and the media. First and foremost, what is medical tourism? Based on the medical news website, Medical tourism can be defined as the process of traveling outside the country of residence with the purpose of receiving medical care. Originally, this term referred to the travel of patients from less developed countries to a developed nations in pursuit of the treatments which are not available in their homeland. Or it could be the other way around, since some more developed country has a great medical quality that can be quite costly and thus burdening to the patients. What really puts the word tourism in medical tourism concept is that people often stay in the foreign country after medical procedure. Travelers can thus take advantage of their visit by sightseeing, taking day trips, or participating in other traditional tourism activities. Next, based on the Global Dictionary, a developing country is a country which is not industrially developed and has less economic capacity per capita income and lower and inconsistent human development index, or in short, HDI. Even if the idea of promoting medical tourism is good as it might be of help towards our country's economy, we of the opposing teams oppose the idea of it. True that to a certain extent, medical tourism is very beneficial when it comes to cost, quality, and services. There are countries which have a brilliant medical quality and is top-notch services without being costly. But take note of the opposite effects as well. One of the main downside of medical tourism is that the patient and their family members are not sure about the qualification of the doctors. This is because before traveling to a foreign country, research is usually done by researching on the internet. Hence, the doctor's info might be exaggerated as a form of marketing strategy. Furthermore, in most cases, patients are not aware of the tolerance levels, whether or not they have allergic to a certain substance in a medicine. Thus, they may invite secondary health problems. They have to venture in a new country, credulous the medical tourism facilitators, not to mention the difficulties they would have from miscommunication due to the inability to have command of the country's first language. They have to bear in mind that not all country uses English, which is our lingua franca nowadays, as the second language or on daily basis. Like Japan, Korea, and China, most of the locals can only utter a few English words, but majority of them can only speak their mother tongue, no matter what occupation they are. This is proof in a few websites online that can be searched on Google. Other than that, misinformation can lead to worse inefficient treatment and wastage of time, money, and health. Pre-operative and post-operative care is not available in many of the hospitals in abroad. Yes?
Okay, you have mentioned that the doctors are not really qualified to actually treat. So do you doubt the professionalism of the medical practitioner itself?
I'm not really doubting the medical professional that stated, but sometimes online information can be fabricated and exaggerated, like I said earlier, as a form of marketing strategy. People will take many lengths to get their services, to advertise their services so that they could gain more consumers, and so that they could provide more financial stabilities to their own hospitals, something like that. This is cases that have been mentioned before, whether or not we are aware of it. Am I answering your question?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will continue. Sometimes the cost of the whole trip amounts more than predictable amount not as not all insurance company could cover abroad healthcare expenses unless there is a tie-up with specific healthcare facilities or organization. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Opposition Leader, for your speech. Now, let us welcome the Deputy Prime Minister to present their case. Hear, hear.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, I will start now. Assalamualaikum and a very good day I bid to the honorable panel of adjudicators, precise timekeepers, the respected opponents from opposition team, my loyal comrades and the members of the floor. For today's debate, we as the government team strongly support to this motion that this house would believe that developing countries should embrace medical tourism simply because it benefits the developing countries in terms of economy, society, and medical. But before I move on to my own argument, let me rebut everything coming from the opposition team. The opposition team has mentioned that the process of medical tourism traveling, the meaning of developing countries is low industrial capacity and economic capacity. Okay, and then the opposition also mentioned that the opposite effects of medical tourism in developing countries is that patient and family members are not sure about the quality of doctors, research done only on the internet. And second, she mentioned that the secondary health problems might be released because of the miscommunication and language barriers. First, let me explain that Malaysia has won the Health and Medical Tourism Destination of the Year title for the fourth time. The Malaysian Health Tourism Council said that in a statement that the win enhanced the country's position as the World Healthcare marvel and reflect the steadfast commitment from relevant organizations in ensuring dedicated healthcare. And we have certified and qualified doctors coming not only from our country itself, but then we have specialists from various countries such as Indian, Indonesian, Malaysian, Singapore, and many more. And then from the second point of miscommunication and language barriers, we must know that not all countries use English. And then I accept that not all countries use English, but then it is not a problem. Since a developing country such as Malaysia, we have multiple races in our country. We have Malaysian, we have Chinese, we have Indian. And these three races has supported all the Asian countries in Malaysia. And I believe most of Malaysian can speak English. And this is why we also covered the Western countries tourists and also the Asian country tourists. And then if the patient is not speaking or not using English at all and using their own language, I believe that doctors from their country can actually follow the doctors or translator from their country can actually follow their trip to Malaysia and speak with our doctor in English language and then translate it back to them in their own language. And communication, at least, is the least thing that we should focus on, since it is the thing that we can solve easily. Moving on to my own point. On the readiness of Malaysia as developing countries to embrace the medical tourism. First, in terms of manpower, and second, in terms of financial resources. Manpower is one of the main priority in order to make medical tourists the best possible quality and specialists offered to the tourists. Dr. Muhammad Azhari from KPJ President said that beside medical tourism, medical practitioners who were expanding their specialization had selected IJN, which is National Heart Institute as well. About 110 doctors from India, Vietnam, Myanmar, Japan, Middle East, and the West had undergone their specialist training at our National Heart Institute. And this manpower availability is to ensure that the right quantities of appropriate personnel are provided at the right time and proper place for the delivery of service. Since healthcare delivery is labor-intensive, health manpower becomes critical in order to use the scarce and resources
judicially. And due to the importance of manpower, Malaysia as a developing countries have the highest quality manpower, such as specialists with an exceptional skills and high English proficiency. Malaysia manpower also comes from different races that can speak high proficiency English and also other language such as Malaysia, Indian, and Chinese. Travelers will find that many Malaysians can speak English alongside other language, and this in short, Malaysia is a perfect country in serving all Western and Asian countries. Let's move on to the financial resources point. The Malaysian Health Travelling Council has projected that this country, medical tourism, would generate 1.3 billion worth of the revenue from the 20% to 30% of projected growth in 2017. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, our country has the potential to provide this medical tourism and at the same time provide the best healthcare quality at the most affordable price to the tourists. And then this will include all the teleconsultation service and then to our existing patient and also to the international patient and the website, the seminar and the webinar and the medical delivery service and so on. All this aim is to ensure that hospital remain connected to our patients and our partners while waiting for some form of the healthcare to resume. That is why I believe that in today's motion, we as the government support that this House believe that developing countries should embrace medical tourism simply because that it will benefit the developing countries in terms of economy, society, and medically. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Next, to continue this debate, I'd like to call upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Starting in 3, 2, 1. All right, so in my speech, I will rebut the points given by the opponent at the last of my speech because they will most probably be integrated in my points of extension. So let's not waste time. I'll jump straight to the major points that we think will win this debate for the opposition bench. First of all, team government needs to acknowledge that there is a reduced availability of doctors to local citizens when they accept foreigners into the country, because when you have let's just look at the principle of supply and demand. When you have such a low price for a major operation such as heart transplantation, there is bound to be a surplus of demand from foreigners, thereby leading to a lot of people coming into your country, as a result, saturating the market and making it and giving the doctors a hard time, and therefore there is a reduced availability that you have to acknowledge that. And because of that, Thai government is are willing to sacrifice the lives of the local citizens who are financially disadvantaged because they belong to the less developed countries in essence. And we think that this is not a good thing to go. For example, in India, based on statistics, there's about 150,000 of foreign citizens who were able to receive treatments in 2013. And we believe that the numbers have surged drastically ever since. And because of that, it has led to 500,000 deaths of local citizens in India caused by tuberculosis and 600,000 deaths of local citizens from easily preventable diarrheal diseases on a yearly basis. Very much because a lot of doctors are opting for the private avenue because they think that is the avenue where you can earn profit, whereas in the local stream, there is very few doctors, approximately 4 doctors to 10,000 local citizens, and Thai government needs to acknowledge that fact. We think that a country's most important objective, of course, to develop the nation financially, but also to serve as a refuge for its own citizens. By prioritizing the lives of people who have the money and the foreigners, we think that you are not fulfilling your very job of your country to protect your own citizens. And secondly, in your world, it promotes the sale of organs illegally. Come to think of it, if there is such a high demand for operations, for example, because no, sorry. Let's think about it. People who travel across borders to get medical treatment are those who are on the verge of dying because they couldn't get it on their own country. For example, organs they have to wait for maybe a year or two in the waiting list, and even so, they are not bound to get that. Therefore, they are opting for other places where the regulations are not that strict because of the world that side government wants to create. And because of that, these people are able to exploit by using their financial means to gain these privileges over those who are disadvantaged. And we don't think that that is a good thing to go. And from that world, what it creates is more human trafficking and other illegal means to get these means or resources for the profit because they are driven by profit. But I would like to offer a point of extension by saying that, by saying that if we pass this motion on opposition bench, we are actively forcing the developed countries to think of ways to actually cope with the problem on their side, and also to lower the price which they are excessively charging on people who need it. Whereas if we go with side government, we are saying that it's okay to go with the status quo. It is okay for them to charge that high. It is okay to prioritize profit over health, over lives. And it also goes with the Hippocratic oath of the doctors, which is to prioritizing patients' life over profit. And finally, we think that developing countries should prioritize any form of development for the country to move forward. That is true. However, if sacrificing own kinsmen's lives is the way to do it, this is not a world that we want to live in. Because even when those profits can be gained, we believe that they can be easily be misused through corruption and also other weak forms of management. So which will then lead us back to ground zero. Therefore, we think that at the end of the day, success needs to happen for a country. However, it should occur naturally instead of prioritizing those who have the financial advantage to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. Now, we would like to invite the government whip to continue the case. Here.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so we'll start. A very good morning to the honorable adjudicators, precise timekeeper, the moderators, speakers of the government team, the opposition team, and not to forget the members of the floor. For today's debate, we as the government team strongly support this motion that this House believes that developing countries should embrace medical tourism simply because it benefits the developing countries in terms of economy, society, and also medical. As the government whip, I will make the rebuttals and also strengthen the case from the government side. Okay, before I make the rebuttals, let's take a look at how the opposition team bring the case for today. Okay, so they actually, the leader of opposition actually failed to improvise or accept the definition that has been stated by the Prime Minister. And besides that, the structure they have bring is also not well structured. And they also doesn't prove the demand that has been made by the Prime Minister that if you don't embrace the medical tourism, despite of the benefits, proven benefits. Okay, first we will look at the from the leader of opposition, where they stated that the language barrier. Okay, English is not our second language, so we have mentioned the benefits and also the criteria of the language by the Prime Minister itself. They actually doesn't engage with the case brought by the government side. Okay, the language is our second language, yeah, but with the advanced technology and also, the apps such as the tour guide or the Google Translator, so it is not going to be a big issue as the language barrier. So even if they cannot speak English, we have the present technology and advanced technology right now to actually assist them for the language. And also it is according to the Medical Tourism Association. Okay, next we will see, they also mentioned that there's a reduced availability of the doctors that will actually tend to affect the medical tourism. So we have a lot of contract doctors, and also they can work for the citizen. We can actually hire them, as our Deputy Prime Minister said. The international doctors are also working in Malaysia. So our doctors are actually enough to serve both the citizens and also the international tourists who seek for the medical treatment. Okay, so in our countries, the citizen, you mean the country citizen, will actually will get their treatment from the government facility, whereas the international tourists can get their treatment from the private sector. So what is the big issue about that? And also the second leader of opposition have stated that we have to sacrifice a lot because we don't have, we have to sacrifice a lot. So we have a proper system with actually a criteria, a systemic approach that actually will solve this issue. It won't actually create a problem of sacrifices by the country itself. And yes, I will accept one POI. Thank you.
Yes,
all right.
Okay, so uncontract doctors are unable to go on to be specialists because they need to go through a certain process to do so, and contract doctors aren't able to do that.
Thank you for the POI. There are actually lots of specialists who specialize in many fields in the medical field. Actually, there's already available. I think it is very unconvincing about that. So I think I answered your question. Thank you. And medical tourism in Malaysia has seen a phenomenal growth since 2002, emerging as an additional engine of growth, and particularly after the financial crisis of 2018. The active involvement of the private sector of healthcare providers, aided by the friendly government policies and also the indirect participants of the government through the government-linked healthcare companies, have spearheaded tremendously, which caused a very good impact in the industry, which is according to the article Medical Tourism in Malaysia, Growth, Contribution and Challenges. And I also would like to strengthen our case from our side that in Malaysia, we are equipped with technology. According to the MHTC officials, the institute is equipped with fourth industrial revolution technology to enhance the diagnosis and the treatment of the heart disease with advanced procedure techniques such as, multi-slice computed tomography, endoscopy vein harvesting, and heart assist devices. So it is proven. And besides that, according to my second leader, they have mentioned that the facility, the National Heart Institute, remains a leader in cardiovascular disease and diagnosis and treatment in Asia, according to the National Heart Institute. With that, I will summarize that we as the government team have clearly explained the facility available and the ratio of manpower and financial resources projected. On the government side, we strongly support today's motion that this House believes that developing a country should embrace medical tourism simply because it benefits the developing country in terms of economy, society, and medical. With that, I end my case. Thank you.
Thank you to the government whip. Now, we would like to invite the opposition whip to present their speech. Here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
So, going on to the first point provided by the Prime Minister, so Malaysia is less expensive as what I heard. Okay. So, less expensive means other countries which are more developed, we have better currency compared to Malaysia, will come to here to consume our resources, which are quite limited. As you all know, on 6th of July 2021, there's a havoc of doctor resigns. Okay, how are we going to take in patients from other countries when we can't even control our own COVID cases? The cases are shooting high even with the MCO lockdowns, and you still want to bring in you want to bring in patients from other countries. Okay, this is one of my first point. So if this happens, we have less resource for our own citizens. Okay, when we have less resource for our own citizens, means more precious life is gone. So when the country has recovered from the pandemic, as a situation now, we have left people that we need workforce. Then how? We need to import from other countries such as Bangladesh, Nepal, and that leads to what? A decrease in economic growth. So how is it a help in the economic when you still need to import people from other country just to help to maintain, to sustain the Malaysian life? Okay, going on to the next point. The doctor will follow the trip. Is it practical? I mean that, okay, you say cultural rush, okay, you can provide a team of doctor and translator to follow you to the treatment. But is it practical? I don't think that's really practical thing. Okay. Next, why there is a backlog of surgery during this pandemic? And the government provided that we have enough doctors, we have enough professionals. But why a backlog? Later, please, I haven't finished my point. Why is there a backlog of surgeries? Okay, I think this is a point that we can think about it. Okay, going into my summary first. Later, I'll answer a POI. Okay, so as what my opposition has mentioned, okay, not enough professionalism. Okay, from one point, maybe doctors, she also doubt herself. Okay, never mind. So as I say, when the price went up, just like my second opposition said, the price will shoot up. So there will be a appeal of black markets. That's where all the non-professionals will come in. Because they don't have a certificate, they'll do it at a lower price. And therefore, the fellow citizens of Malaysia who can't afford the high cost caused by the bringing in of medical tourism, they'll go for the black market. End up, you get the same story like what I mentioned in the first place. Okay? Next, as I said, culture crash. As you said just now, everybody can communicate in English, but as the third speaker of government said, our main language is Bahasa Malaysia. So what if you have patients from China? They have very bad English. No offense, but I've been to Singapore, I deal with Chinese people from China. That's what I get. They really need someone that who can really speak Chinese. But majority, our education system in Malaysia, the doctors are educated in English or Bahasa Malaysia.
POI.
Come on, yes, POI.
The patient can, yes. Go on, Vinu.
You have stated that self-assumed about COVID-19. At the end of the day, our cases are still reducing day by day. And in 3 weeks, our PM said it will be achieved 90% herd immunity. So do you think the treatment actually is not being given to the international patients?
Pardon? Can you repeat again? Sorry, I didn't get your point.
Okay. You have said that self-assumed that at the end of the day, our cases are still reducing day by day. And 3 weeks, our Prime Minister said it will be achieved a 90% herd immunity. Are you making a self-assumption about the COVID-19 just now that have you stated?
I'm not making a self-assumption on this matter. As you say, now because we are focusing all the workforce on helping the vaccination process. That's why you see the backlog in surgery. If we have sufficient workforce in the medical side, I don't think we need a backlog of surgeries just to cope with the vaccination progress. I hope I answered your question. Any more POI? No POI, so I will.
Time for POI is up, yeah?
Pardon?
Your time for POI is up.
Okay. So my conclusion is, we are strongly disagree on this matter because we need to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of others. That's what the government say. Kita jaga kita. Thank you.
Thank you, Opposition Whip. That concludes the substantive part of this debate. Now both teams will be given 1 minute to prepare for the reply speeches. Now, I'd like to invite the reply speaker from side opposition to present their speech. Here.
Thank you. It's 5 minutes, right?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Yeah, I'll start in 3, 2, 1. All right, so to summarize the whole debate, Thai government, for the first speaker, has provided a confident approach to the professionalism of doctors in Malaysia, which we believe is true. We don't doubt in the quality of the medical operations that are done by these doctors. However, our point of concern is on the quantity that is available to cope with the surge in demand. And as what the third speaker has mentioned, with the recent Black Flag movement concerning many doctors who aren't able to be permanent doctors, but only are able to be contract doctors, we believe that they are unable to operate high-risk operations because they are not certified as specialists. And for you to become a specialist, you need to go through the process of being a permanent doctor, which I believe. And without that, a contract doctor simply isn't able to achieve that. And for the second speaker, and furthermore, we think that even if you're able to provide that form of implementation, why is it not feasible? It's because at the end of the day, the demand is just going to increase. The type of diseases, the number of diseases is just going to increase, and the number of people who is in need of an organ is going to increase year after year. In 2013, there is 13,000 of people waiting in the organ donor list in Malaysia, but currently there are 21,000 people waiting in the organ donor list. So, waiting for an organ. Therefore, we believe that we should prioritize on the local citizens first. Before we are able to do that, we should not go for, put this avenue for the foreigners. But secondly, on the second speaker, he mentioned on the amount of financial gains that are able to be garnered from this, which is that 1.3 billion revenue can be generated. But we think that even with that kind of profit, there is still bound to be misuse of that kind of profit, which leads to the less developed country unable to develop further. For example, corruption, ill management of the resources. So at the end of the day, we think that our world that we are trying to create is that we will have strict regulations that prevent foreigners to have access to these vital operations, and we are forcing them to come up with new ideas, for example, artificial organs to help their people. And before they can do that, we are not willing to sacrifice our own people's lives for the sake of profit. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to invite the reply speaker from side government to conclude this debate. Here.
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you're audible.
All right, thank you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the opposition side never come out with their own stand on why they do not want to embrace this medical tourism. They never engage, and their arguments are very superficial without data or statistics to support to begin with. In our world, we want to embrace this medical tourism because we have the competitive medical fees and modern medical facilities that are two vital factors that can make Malaysia as a developing country a popular destination among health tourists because of the proven increasing statistic of tourists coming to Malaysia to seek for medical consultation. According to the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council MHDC, we reportedly received proven increasing foreign patients seeking for the medical treatment. And we want the opposition to prove why they do not want to embrace the medical tourism despite of the benefits and our readiness. and they are worried about the quality of doctors and patients doing their own research on internet to find information on which countries they are going to choose for medical treatment. I believe in order to get a proper medical treatment, one person would not simply make a lousy research for their own health. And Malaysians have the award-winning facilities, award-winning healthcare system, and JCI accredited hospitals by the US, and their service is and our service is proven the best. They are also worried about the language barriers and playing that Chinese cannot speak English and so on. These arguments, as I said, are not valid at all, since we have multiracial and multi-language doctors that can speak Malay, Indian, Tamil, and Chinese. And the most important is English as well. With the coming technologies, the Google Translate and so on, we can make the multi-language barrier overcome easily. And lastly, they are worried about the insufficient doctor because it will scrap off our doctors from serving our citizens. I see the opposition didn't understand that we have two-tier system, that our doctors will serve the citizen in government hospital while the international doctors will serve the private hospitals. Even though our resources are used to pay the international doctor, the revenue we gain is much more higher than that. That is why, despite of the proven benefits and the proven readiness that we have provided, the opposition are not actually come up with why they do not want to embrace the medical tourism in different countries. This is why these two motion are deciding to the government that we believe these developing countries should embrace medical tourism simply because it will benefit the developing countries in terms of economy, society, and also medically. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have reached the end of this debate session. We hope you had an excellent time watching the great speakers, and we'd like to sincerely thank you for tuning in as well. The results as well as the feedback will be announced shortly, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Welcome back from the second debate session, everyone. We hope you enjoyed how debaters from each universities conveyed their ideas fluently. It truly portrays their thought processes as well as a showmanship of their inherent skills. I believe we'll be witnessing more sessions like the previous ones. But before we proceed on to the next motion, let us talk a little about the previous session. Now, I'm not a big fan of medical tourism, but I'm certainly a fan of tourism. Visiting new countries, new places, but certainly not visiting new hospitals.
Well, you can always use medical tourism as an excuse to visit a new country.
Well, that might be a good idea, but again, I might be stuck in the hospital for God knows how long.
True. And personally, I feel that the developing countries don't always have the high-end facilities to perform medical procedures.
Well, yeah, you're kind of right, but we are no debaters, so we have no idea what we are talking about. Moving on to the next motion. All right, so I have my info here with me. Okay, so allow me to introduce the next motion. So this House will deny all government subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoy the debate session. We will proceed on with the debate session in a short while. Thank you.
Side opposition, are all your 3 speakers in this room?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are all here.
All right. And is the adjudicator for the room present?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm pleased to welcome you to the first preliminary round of the 7th MyPSA National Pharmacy Debate Competition 2021. This debate will now come to order. Representing the government side for today's debate is the team from USM, and representing the side opposition will be the team from Quest International University, Team 1. It will be my responsibility as moderator for today to remind you of a couple of things that each debater must keep in mind during the round. Number 1, sensitive issues that would be offensive to political, religious, or ethnicities are prohibited. Each debater has an allocated speech time of 5 minutes. The bell will be rung for the first time at the 1st minute and for the 2nd time at the 4th minute to indicate POIs will no longer be taken from opposing sides. Once 5 minutes have passed, the bell will be rung twice to indicate that the allocated speech time has ended. The allocated time for reply speeches are 3 minutes after a preparation of 1 minute, with no POIs from opposing sides. With that, I would like to invite the Prime Minister from side government to open up the case for today's motion. This House would deny all government subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead unhealthy lifestyles. Hear, hear.
Thank you very much. But before I begin, may I double confirm with you whether am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thanks a lot. A very good afternoon I bid to the honorable judges, dedicated timekeeper, respected opposition team, and my beloved government teammates. Today, I, Huang Jiala, is the Prime Minister, and today's motion is this House would deny all government subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead unhealthy lifestyles. And I hereby represent the government, strongly agree with this motion. But before I begin, I would like to define some of the major keywords in today's motion. The government defines deny as the action of refusing to give something. The government subsidized health benefits are financial grants extended by the government to the public health sector, such as our very own government hospital. Services provided here are free or discounted to a point to help Malaysian citizens to get accessible to healthcare services. By choose means we are the people who choose means purposely to decide on the course of action. By unhealthy lifestyle means a lifestyle where a person engages in activities that are detrimental to health, such as smoking and drinking alcohol. Based on the Statistics Department figures on the causes of death in the country since the year 2000 to 2017, unhealthy lifestyles are killing more and more Malaysians, with death linked to ailments such as heart and cerebral vascular disease, nearly doubling from 2000 to 2017. Although awareness campaigns or even public educations on topics regarding healthy lifestyles have been introduced and organized from time to time, we have not seen any improvement. And meanwhile, the government has been providing many government subsidized health benefits to everyone. So it's like it does not solve the problem at all, because people come one after another with disease, mainly due to unhealthy lifestyles, while the Malaysian government subsidizes about 98% of the treatment costs for citizens at public health facilities. It's like there's no end to it. In this motion, the government seeks to focus on a healthy lifestyle, which are drinking, alcohol, and smoking. The mechanism that shall be proposed by the government is that an app will be created to track the citizens' consumption of alcohol and cigarettes, while all the places selling this will also have the QR code for the consumers to scan when they buy. Then the government hospital will also be equipped with these scanners for medical practitioners to get to know the patient's background and also regarding their consumption of these things. And then the government we are not discriminating anyone, as the people are still allowed to have the full benefits of the provided healthcare services. But due to their actions, purposely choosing to live an unhealthy lifestyle, the government allocating on what's good and what's bad for your health, they should be responsible for the actions and pay the full price for the aftermath. So my first point is that it creates the sense of unfairness among Malaysians. As we all know that one of the major causes of A major source of income of the government is the taxes collected in many aspects from the citizens of Malaysia. Everyone is paying taxes, but it's the people who has been leading and healthy lifestyles enjoy most of the subsidized healthcare services. And this is unfair to other people who has been having a healthy lifestyles. They pay taxes too, but we are subsidizing treatment fees for disease that is mainly due to unhealthy lifestyle as the cause, which can be prevented by just having a normal, healthy lifestyle. So are we making full use of the taxes collected? Are we using our resources well? Therefore, the government thinks that it will be better that we save the resources being spent on people who get disease because of unhealthy lifestyles, and we should use that money for better purposes such as improving the quality of healthcare services. Nevertheless, as mentioned in our mechanism, people with unhealthy lifestyle will be receiving equal quality healthcare services as though leading healthy lifestyle. So we are not discriminating against them. It's never our intention to do it. However, the healthcare related services given to them will not be subsidized and they have to pay the full cost. We are just trying to make full use of our resources that come from the people of Malaysia and not to create a sense of unfairness among them. Therefore, we government strongly agree with today's motion that we should deny all government subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your speech. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Leader of Opposition to bring the case for their side. Hear.
Okay. Good morning to Mr. Chair, honorable adjudicators, members of the government team, distinguished guests, and my royal teammates. This is the first speaker from the opposition team, and this team agrees with the definition from the government team, but would not deny all government-subsidized benefits for individuals who choose to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. So, ladies and gentlemen, I, as the first speaker of the opposition team, would be proposing an argument regarding health equity. Our second speaker would be proposing an argument on discrimination and victimization and also the social inequality of the financial aspect. And our third speaker would rebut all points from the government team and sum up our team case. So before moving on to my points of my argument, I would like to rebut a few points from the Prime Minister of the government team. The first speaker of the government team declared that they have mentioned that it's unfair for those who are living a healthy lifestyle. Well, this is very subjective because the taxes are paid by all, even those who are going through a healthy lifestyle and those who are not going through a healthy lifestyle. So is it fair to actually deny health benefits for those that are only leading a healthy lifestyle? The government also mentions that they are not discriminating, but they are bluntly discriminating by not providing equality. And health benefits is secure under the Constitution. Therefore, moving on to the point of my argument, I would like to discuss regarding why this House would not deny all government-subsidized health benefits for the individuals who choose to lead a healthy lifestyle. Because this is not a way to practice health equity. You see, health equity basically means giving patients the care that they need when they need it. Or as the Institute of Medicine IOM report would put it, health equity actually means providing care that does not vary in quality because of personal characteristics, such as gender, ethnicity, geographic location, socio-economic status, and in this case, the health status. Surely, healthy living should be encouraged, but punishing patients who make poor health choices clearly oversimplifies a very complex issue. The government should be focusing on public health campaigns, encouraging exercise, smoking cessation, and so on. Of course, there will be a large change on how we live and how we plan our communities. Not everyone is in control of the lifestyle that they choose to live, that is whether it is considered to be healthy or not. Lack of responsibility is one of the factors, but so are others, such as social status, income, family dynamics, education, and genetics. Moreover, unhealthy lifestyle is also related to mental health, where people with depression is known to frequently smoke, and this leads them to have a higher prevalence of excessive alcohol drinking, and also they'll be more physically inactive. Therefore, at the end of the day, it's the context of people's life that determines their health. Therefore, blaming individuals for poor health or crediting them for good health is just it's just inappropriate, as stated in the World Health Organization reports on health disparities, where it was stated that in all countries, whether low, middle, or high income, there are wide disparities in health status of different social groups. The lower an individual's socioeconomic position, the higher their risk of poor health. For example, if someone is poor and they were to go into labor, but at the same time there's someone who smokes, would it actually be appropriate to remove the beneficence usually given to those who are going to go into labor just because they smoke? No, because the beneficence is not sufficient enough to override the principle of respect for autonomy, which holds that people should decide for themselves how they want to live their lives and what they get to do to their bodies. Besides, we all engage in socially irresponsible behavior, if not unhealthy lifestyle, that others pay, and for others, I mean taxpayers. But according to the Health Ministry of Malaysia, Malaysia is a country that's only spending 4.5% of its gross domestic product, which is GDP, on healthcare, comprising almost equal to public and private sector.
Speaking as the second minister, and I would now I will first begin by rebutting the point made by the leader of opposition. She mentioned just now that we are denying those who lead unhealthy lifestyles healthcare. As we mentioned in the mechanism before, we are not denying healthcare at all. Like, we are only taking away the privilege that they have of getting free and subsidized healthcare. Next, I will move on with my first point on why I believe that this motion should stand. Firstly, this by denying the privilege of getting free subsidized healthcare services, it discourages these unhealthy behaviors. I will first provide everyone with a very concerning statistic, which is the number of persons who dies from smoking-related illnesses each year is 419,000. Also, not to mention how alcohol-related diseases, and even those who are affected by these alcoholics, for example, through drink and drive cases, who dies each year. Isn't it devastating? Our motion here sets a figure that we are penalizing people for their risky behavior. By this, we believe that we are providing a constructive method to discourage these unhealthy behavior alongside significant reduced healthcare costs and also saving lives. Imagine this. Imagine spending all the taxpayers' money on those who choose to indulge this unhealthy lifestyle. It seems counterproductive, isn't it, to be held to all the public health campaigns that the government are providing with to encourage people to live a healthy lifestyle? So it's only appropriate that the government walk the talk, especially when we spend tons of money each year on public health campaigns, just to ensure that people are more conscious of their decisions when it comes to smoking and also drinking alcohol. We believe that this regulation is good and productive for the government to implement, as we want our people to choose wisely when it comes to their life, when it comes to living healthy lifestyles. So let's make it clear again. We are not by any chance denying or compromising any aspects of the healthcare services provided to them, but they should be obligated of the government subsidized benefits. My next point is people should be held responsible for their own voluntary options. We've all heard of this. Every action has its own consequences. The government can do all they can with public health campaigns, healthy food options, but at the end of the day, it is up to the society to make their own decision. Am I right? We've also learned from young that certain behaviors or certain lifestyle choices are more hazardous than others. Let me provide you with another example. As mentioned before, smoking, vaping, and drinking alcohol can cause many hazardous diseases, including hypertension, diabetes, stroke, lung diseases, and even many, many forms of cancer. These are some of the leading causes of death in our country. And if people still choose to live their life this way, then how are they still be able to enjoy the perks of subsidized healthcare by the government? We would like to first point out that these diseases or conditions caused by these irresponsible lifestyle choices cost a lot of money. So to conclude, we don't believe that it's worth it to spend valuable amount of money on those who don't value their lives, and instead they should find ways to redeem their actions by paying in full for their own hospital bills. With that, I end my speech with thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Next, to continue this debate, I'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition to present their speech. Hear, hear.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
A very good afternoon to Mr. Chairman, honorable educators, respected opposing team, members from the floor, and my loyal teammates. This is the Deputy Leader of Opposition, and we believe that all government-subsidized health benefits should not be denied for individuals who choose an unhealthy lifestyle. Well, before going to our arguments, firstly, I would like to rebut the points stated by the government team, whereby the proposed field statistics about the diseases and fatality rate among Malaysians due to smoking and drinking alcohol. But this only shows a minor significance in this motion. They also stated that it is reasonable to only subsidize health benefits for people who practice healthy lifestyle as they pay the tax as well. So my question here is, how do you actually know if someone leads to a healthy or unhealthy lifestyle? It is really subjective. And is there any system to record it other than medical record? What are the specific parameters to determine whether a person is healthy or not? And what is the duration of practice that is considered healthy lifestyle? At this point, the government team has failed to address all these justifications. The patient might be lying during consultation session as they are leading to a healthy lifestyle. For example, a patient will try to avoid sugary food before taking blood glucose test one day before to obtain a desired or a normal blood glucose reading. So, is the patient considered healthy? We have to consider various factors such as the time factor, financial factors, genetic factors, as well as stress level. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us bring you to our first point of argument. Firstly, health benefits should be considered as a human right. Denying all government health benefits for those who are unable to lead to a healthy lifestyle is a pure victimization as well as discrimination against health rights. With that in mind, this is violating the Hippocratic Oath, where it stated that a healthcare provider, I will not permit considerations of age, disease, or disability, gender, race, nationality, sexual orientation to intervene between my duty and my patient, and I will not use my specialist knowledge contrary to the laws of humanity. And this Hippocratic Oath has been practiced by the healthcare practitioners over the decades. And we do not see any rationale to deny health benefits for certain people by removing the subsidy. So ladies and gentlemen, it is daunting and unrealistic to deny and choose who are eligible to enjoy the subsidized healthcare benefits. On top of that, what about the people who are trying hard to live a healthy lifestyle? For example, A person who is regularly exercising, practicing balanced diet, and having adequate sleep, however, he or she has genetic inherited disease such as thalassemia and G6PD, which is unavoidable. So is he or she considered practicing unhealthy lifestyle just because he or she is suffering from the disease? And take for another example, for those who are living in a severely polluted environment but practicing healthy lifestyle, they're in a higher risk of getting respiratory diseases and infections due to pollutants in the air. So he or she is considered unhealthy as well? I bet you already had the answer. So that is why this is a biased approach, pure discrimination and victimization of human rights, and it is definitely not in line with Sustainable Development Goal 3, where everyone should be equal and deserve good health and well-being. Now, coming to our next point of argument, denying all government health benefits for those who are living unhealthy also creates more problems in a country, that is social inequality and social collapse, especially in the financial aspect. For instance, to those people who are in financial burden or from a low income category in which they are unable to afford food like organic food and healthcare products such as supplements to enhance their health, which can be expensive to this category of people. In fact, based on the recent study published in the Archives of Internal Medicine with 5,000 respondents for 20 years, the report stated that researchers found that incremental increases the price of unhealthy food resulted in the decreases in consumption. In other words, when junk foods cost more, people consume less. However, poor people will opt for fast food or junk food that is much cheaper in the market, as we can get a full set of burger meal with just 5 ringgit. Of course, people can opt to go exercising and jogging, but what about those who are working 12 hours to put bread on the table and take care of their children? Therefore, we cannot make the poor even unhealthy by removing all the subsidized health benefits from them. And as a conclusion, we stand firm on we should deny all the subsidized health benefits and should make it fair to everyone. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you for your speech. Now, we would like to invite the government whip to respond to the opposition case. Hear, hear.
Okay, hi. May I know if everyone can hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
All right, okay. Sorry, give me a second. There you go. All right, okay, I'll start now. Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to the honorable judges, dedicated timekeeper, respected opposition team, beloved teammates. My name is Manduri Shapkashraya, and acting as the third minister from the government team will be rebutting all the points given by the leader of opposition and also the second leader of opposition from the opposition team. So the motion for today is this house would deny all government subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead unhealthy lifestyles. So, and we as the government team completely stand to agree with this motion. The first point, I would first like to rebut the points given by the leader of opposition, which mentioned about health equity. So I would like, she mentioned that by agreeing to this motion, we are denying every single healthcare, and also we differ. There is a difference in the quality of healthcare that we will provide to these people. I as the government team, would like to emphasize that we in the government do not ever say that the healthcare system, the healthcare that will be provided will be different in the quality. We are just asking for them to pay for the full bill based on what they have done for their lifestyle. So all healthcare services will be provided at the same quality. It's just that they have to pay the full bill. So, and then she also mentioned about the lifestyle of different people. Sorry, I will take your POI once I'm done with my points. Okay, and then she also mentioned that there are certain people who are unable to avoid these kind of this kind of lifestyle, which she gave an example of depression. People can smoke and drink to release stress. So I would like to say that rather than spending money on these things, wouldn't it be better for them to seek professional help instead? So before investing in those cigarettes and alcohol, which can make you lose the perks of the subsidized healthcare once you get sick from those kind of things, from consuming those kind of things, you should have opted for seeking professional help in the first place. So we in the government are only focusing on smoking and drinking alcohol, not mental diseases. So these people, they should have prioritized what's important and seek help for their mental health. Next, I would like to rebut what the point given by the deputy leader of opposition. So I will take your POI once I'm done with my points. So she said that how exactly do you know whether a person is living a healthy lifestyle? So I would like to repeat on the mechanism that has been brought by the government. We in the government are focusing only on smoking and drinking alcohol, right? So there is an app that we will create to track all the consumption, all the people that buy these kind of things, and so that, and when they, upon entering the hospital for a checkup or anything, they will need to scan another to show their consumption on those kind of things. If it's found that they have an excess of consumption for these kind of things, then they will have to pay for what for the effects that they have brought upon themselves. The second point given by the deputy leader of opposition is that there is a social inequality. So basically, a human rights, right? So that they are unable to afford healthy food, unable to live healthily. Again, I repeat, we in the government are only focusing on smoking and drinking alcohol. So if they can pay for those kind of things, why can't they pay for their full hospital bill? Well, so people can choose however they want to live, but to each course of action, there are consequences. And the consequences that you only need is that you have to do is that just to pay the full bill of the hospital bill while enjoying all of the healthcare services. So your POI?
My question would be, how would you know if an obese person is as such due to unhealthy life and not the side effects of medication or other genetic reasons? Thank you.
As I have mentioned repeatedly, this is only focused on smoking and drinking alcohol. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we would like the opposition whip to present their speech. Here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Very good afternoon to Madam Chairperson, respected adjudicator, and everyone present here. I, as the third speaker from the opposition team, would like to start off with a few rebuttals on the statement presented by the government team. The Prime Minister from the government team stated that it would be not fair for healthy people, but we don't agree with the statement because how would a doctor predict a person's lifestyle by just seeing them? If, let's say, a patient admitted in hospital emergency department, would doctor neglect his duty to give her the treatment she deserves just because she's obese? What if she's suffering from binge eating or dealing with polycystic ovarian syndrome that causes her to unable to lose weight? Thus, by simply denying a person's medical benefit based on their healthy lifestyle is not relevant and not fair too. And the Prime Minister too mentioned that the public campaign failed to instill healthy lifestyle. Yet, how sure government by denying all the benefit health would improve the quality of health? Next, the Deputy Prime Minister from the government have mentioned that the government are not discriminating, but we disagree with their statement that they are not discriminating, but removing their privilege, which to us simply means that we are taking away their human rights and discriminating their rights. How would the action of subsidized health benefit for people with healthy lifestyle bring goodness to no later who falls in unhealthy lifestyle category? We do have question to Deputy Prime Minister's statement if she have statistical evidence that denying government subsidized healthy benefit would reduce the number of smokers. We believe the government team failed to address this issue as well. Hence, instead of focusing on people who's healthy only, we believe the government should have better solution for encouraging people with unhealthy lifestyle. For an example, by providing facilities like healthy food subsidization, gym fee subsidization, and also by providing rehabilitations for people who are taking alcohol. The third speaker from the government mentioned that they are focusing on smoking and alcoholism, but let's say studies shows that 45% of Malaysian adults, especially urban residents, lives an unhealthy lifestyle, such as having unhealthy habits like smoking and consuming alcohol. Does that mean by implementing this measure, government are denying the health rights for 45% of Malaysian adults? As a pharmacy student, I feel this is not practical enough. The affirmative team have continuously stated that the House would deny all government subsidized health benefit for individuals who choose to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. Yet, we opposition team believe that medical treatment and care should be made available to rich and poor alike in accordance with medical need and by not other criteria, including lifestyle. Our first speaker have mentioned that the motion today does not promote health equity. We must not judge or rationalize if the respective person deserves to get medical benefit based on their lifestyle. We believe that health is not solely an issue of personal responsibility on maintaining lifestyle. The government should consider the external factors such as pollution, unemployment, low wages, stress, depression, and long working hours that requires a person to sit facing computer for hours and unable to exercise due to working hours that led them to unhealthy lifestyle. Our second speaker have stated that the health benefit should be considered as human rights. No man deserves to be discriminated or victimized for his unhealthy lifestyle. We strongly believe that government should have parallel goals with the World Health Organization at which the right to health must be enjoyed without discrimination on the ground of race, age, ethnicity, or any other status. As a part of healthcare profession, we must not deny anybody in help, and the sole purpose of having developed healthcare facility is to help those in need. If medical benefits are just there to meant for those who are having healthy lifestyle, what those who are forced to neglect their health just to put food on the table for the family and those who are having this colleague knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, we the opposition team believe that everyone deserves to be treated. We are not convinced with the statement given by the government team on House would deny all government subsidized health benefit for individuals who choose to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. We believe that this act portrays no professionalism and lack of sense of humanity. We don't have the rights to deny a human's right to get the treatment or subsidize he deserves. The government team did not come up with the right alternative to deal with the people who are not practicing healthy lifestyle either. Some people don't get to choose the lifestyle they wished, and even if they did, some might have genetically inherited disease, which puts up a false alarm that the respective person did not practice healthy lifestyle. And for an example, a person might be admitted. Hence, we believe that denying health benefit has more risk outweighing the benefit and seems to be irrational measure to promote health management in people of our nation. Thank you.
That concludes the substantive part of today's debate. Now both teams will have 1 minute to prepare for the speeches.
Once again, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I, the first speaker from the opposition team, will proceed to do the reply speech. So, if we were to deny health benefits to those practicing an unhealthy lifestyle, it is clearly a form of discrimination, and healthcare systems are not supposed to prioritize and not supposed to practice discrimination. That is from judging someone merely based off their medical status, which most of the time they are not in control of. Thus, at the end of the day, the low income will still face discrimination and inequity from the quality of healthcare that they receive. This act of cherry picking is clearly not an effective method to increase life expectancy of population as a whole. It's just going to deteriorate the public's health, especially of the low income, and making it worse than it already is. Therefore, we from the opposition team, believe that we should not deny all government-subsidized health benefits for the individuals, regardless if they are practicing a healthy lifestyle or unhealthy lifestyle. Because not everyone is entitled to take part in a healthy lifestyle because not everyone has the resources to do so. Therefore, rather than punishing these people and crediting those who actually have the resources to conduct a healthy lifestyle, the government should contribute their time and effort in health education, smoking cessation, and mental health programs to raise awareness. Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves a chance to be safe. Therefore, we from the opposition team strongly state our statement that we would not deny all government-subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you for the reply speech from side opposition. Now, to conclude this debate, I'd like to call upon the replied speaker from side government. Here.
Before I start, may I confirm whether I'm made audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Thank you very much. So a very good afternoon, I bid to the honorable judges, the timekeeper, respected opposition team, and my beloved government teammates. Once again, the government is not trying to discriminate against other people with unhealthy lifestyle. We are just they can still receive a complete and quality healthcare services, but then it's just that their treatment will not be subsidized. So I do not see why the opposition do not understand what we are trying to say. We are not trying to discriminate against them. Just that their treatment will not be subsidized. That's all. This motion focuses on alcohol drinking and smoking, and we, the government, clearly have the proper mechanism to track whether they are actually smoking or drinking alcohol or not. Because if we suggest that they have to use an app to scan an QR code whenever they buy cigarettes and alcohol. If that is the case, we can track that. We know their lives. They are practicing a healthy lifestyle or not in terms of the alcohol drinking and smoking. So if that's the case, I don't see why the opposition have been saying that we can't do this without letting us know what is wrong with the mechanism is. Instead, they have been giving unrelated examples of what we are focusing on, like depression, people smoke and drink to release stress. If that's the case, they should seek for professional help before investing in dangerous behavior, which does not only harm themselves, but could harm other people. And they have been also saying like human rights, but then there's nothing, we are not denying their human rights. They can still get access to the healthcare services that we provided, and it's of good quality. So how is that related to human right when there are human rights that are not being denied? And before that, at the same time, I still remember the speaker saying that we should have focusing on like public health campaigns and all that, but that's what we government have been doing. If that's the case, that should have solved the problem already. That's why we do not see the reason why they are opposing us. Therefore, we would like to make our stance clearly that we in the government team strongly believe or agree with today's motion that we should actually deny all government subsidized health benefits for individuals who choose to lead unhealthy lifestyles. We should have prioritized our resources for a better purposes. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have reached the end of this debate session. We hope you had an excellent time watching the speakers, and we'd like to sincerely thank you for tuning in to today's round. The results as well as the feedback will be announced shortly, so stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Welcome back, everyone. How do you feel about the first 3 sessions of the debate? Personally, I feel it is phenomenal so far, with the way the debaters speak and play around with words and sentences.
Yes, I truly agree with you, Fiona. Debate is captivating simply because it is exciting to see how the government and opposition propose their idea in a nearly perfect manner in hopes to dominate one another through their speech. But let's get that out of the way. I'm sure our audience is hungry by now, so let's take a break for an hour. Thank you.
Before you take a break, we will be screening an advertisement throughout the lunch break. We will go live again right after the lunch break. And with that, thank you everyone for coming.
Maintaining great skin is a challenge due to the damaging effects of UV rays. It's time to charge up your skincare from inside out with Glutaglow and UV Care Sunscreen. Step 1. Nourish your skin from within with Glutaglow, which offers whitening, firming, moisturizing, and UV protection. Glutaglow contains 4 beauty ingredients that work to nourish the skin from within. Step 2. Protect your skin with UV Care 3-in-1 Brightening Up Sunscreen. It is free from alcohol, fragrance, and parabens, and rich in vitamin C, arbutin, and glutathione. It prevents skin damage and premature aging caused by harmful UVA and UVB rays. Together, they offer sun protection, brightening, and hydrating properties to your skin. Great skin can now be yours from inside out.